If you guys talk,
Oh, are they live?
they turn them on.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So the lights.
Well, that's good. I mean,
Need some power?
Your laptop's good.
Got it. Yep. There's a tax.
Good evening. I will call our meeting this evening to order, and let's all rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We do have before we get to the next item, we just have a brief statement from, I believe Monica is going to say something, followed up by Dr. Rabideau. Yep.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that I recently received an anonymous letter demanding my resignation and threatening consequences if I did not comply. Law enforcement has been notified and there is an active investigation, so I'm not able to share details at this time. However, the community should know that the lies, harassment, and intimidation did not begin with this letter. It has been ongoing since the first day I took office. I have faced repeated false accusations about my employment, fraudulent complaints filed with the state of Michigan against my professional license, attacks directed at my family, and coordinated efforts to undermine my role on this board. Other board members have experienced similar treatment, including false letters being sent about their children to their schools, items mailed to their homes, and other incidents that continue to occur. This pattern of behavior is deliberate and it's unacceptable. Disagreement and civil discourse is expected with elected positions, but this kind of behavior is not. Sustained harassment and the spreading of falsehoods are a disservice to this community and to our schools. I was elected to serve the district, and that is exactly what I'm going to continue to do.
So in just a few minutes, Sheriff's deputy will be here. That's on my direction. And I guess I would just kind of go back and say to Monica and the other board members that have faced this kind of behavior, it's despicable. We have differences. There is absolutely no doubt we have differences. But to resort to some of the things she hasn't shared, which are just vulgar, that the people sitting around me at this table that came to support our students, the things they've been subjected to are despicable. The comments on Facebook on every side of the issue are despicable. But again, crossing that line into threatening people, that is not part of their job as public servants. It's not part of my job as a public employee, and it's not part of a job of any of our employees. And it shouldn't even be a part of our thought process dealing with our neighbors. They are your neighbors. They are your family. That goes for the board. That goes for the teaching staff, the administrators, myself. And so I'm speaking to the broader audience that's going to watch this on YouTube and is sitting there now. There is no better word, in my opinion, to describe the fact that sitting board members are receiving threatening letters other than despicable. And it needs to stop. And so when that deputy walks in the door, it's not because we're shutting down First Amendment rights. It's because of despicable behavior. And so everyone in this room has a role in bringing the temperature down. Because as I look out, I see people that are commenting on Facebook and fueling that fire. You have a responsibility to bring the temperature down. We don't know who said the multiple things, but that crossed a line. So I ask you to do your part. Stay off Facebook. That would be a huge first step in bringing this community together. And then if you're the type of person that thinks you're going to put pen to paper or type or cut out numbers and letters and send a ransom note, you have some serious reflection to do on who you are as a person. So again, the deputies are walking in now. The reason is because I asked them to be here. Because we have people in this room that have been subjected to threats. Please help us. Please do your part to help. I think I'm done.
Thank you very much. I think on behalf of all the board members, we appreciate your concern for our safety and well-being. I certainly concur with this decision. And, as the president of this body and together with Dr. Rabideau, it is our job to ensure the safety of everyone who is here. And again, going back to my previous conduct in this chair, again, that is all I have ever tried to do, is try to create a civil environment where everyone is respectful. And I certainly hope that this will be just a short little interlude in the life of our school board and community, and we'll get back to being more civil and respectful to each other very soon. So thank you all so much. And again, thank you for coming. So now, having accomplished that, let us go on to the approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 9th, 2026 monthly workshop agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, show of hands in favor of approving the agenda. Any opposed, same sign. All right, motion carried. We have an agenda. That brings us to our discussion items and some exciting curriculum and instruction-related items, beginning with the standard assessment update, about which we heard a lot during strategic planning and such. So let's jump in with the elementary and WEA data update.
And just a technical, is it distorting? It sounds very distorted.
Really rough.
Oh, all right, so apparently back off a little bit. All right, so with that, I will invite Scott Henwood, our principal at Lincoln, and Josh Feldposh, our principal at Besser, to come up and give us
It's like I haven't even said anything yet. Come on now.
give us a presentation on elementary NWEA data.
It's not going on. Let me. Can we have this added over here? There we go. Let's do that. There
You
we
gotta
go.
ask Matt for help, it's actually. Got your back.
Good evening. Thank you very much for letting us share. So again, Josh Feldposh, principal over at Besser Elementary. I'm going to do the first half, and then I'll hand it over to Scott. But the main goal here is to show some of the collaboration work that the administrative team has already been doing, some of the data we've been collecting that's directly related to the strategic plan, and we want to share that out. Here's a little outline. We're going to talk about a little bit of the strategic plan, NWEA, some vocabulary, and then share some bright spots. And then I'm going to hand it over to Scott, and he'll share some of the areas of improvement and the summary and the next steps. And this work, the way we've done it, starts out at the campus level. So all the administrators are collecting data. We come together at our ad staff meetings, put the data together, and have discussions on some patterns that we're seeing. Again, the grows and the glows, and so this work is all combined from the elementary principals and the work that we've done. Here's a foundation for continuous improvement. And this information we're sharing directly falls under the academics and programs pillar. All right, some vocabulary. So the data that we use, you'll be familiar with a RIT score, measures student achievement over time. And that is like between about 100 and 350 up in that range. And it shows a student all the way from elementary age all the way up. It follows them all the way up, and it shows their growth. So no matter what grade they're in, they get that number, and it shows where they're at, and it gives us the information we need to know where we need to provide that support or extension. The CGP, conditional growth percentile ranking, compares a student's score to a national sample. So where do they fall from 1 to 99? Where do they fall on that, with 50 being the average? Shows right there the normal growth is 50%. That's considered normal growth for a school year. Accelerated growth is 70% or above, and it's typically defined as such. So that's what we're going to be looking at, is that CGP, that CGP ranking and we're putting all the elementary schools together. So we're not showing individual data. We're saying, hey, here's where we're all at. Here's where our averages are and what we're trying to do together as a team. The district bright spots, math for second and third grade is at or above the 70th percentile. So we're seeing that those two grade levels across the district are doing very, very well. And are like it shows up above that 70th. So those are some areas. We're also looking at, hey, what are we doing in those areas that's bringing about that growth, and how we can continue that work. The ELA proficiency for all grades is at or above the 50th percentile. So still an area to celebrate, but again, we're seeing where we're at. We're at that average area, that 50% or above, and we're trying to push that higher. But that's where we're at with our ELA, and that's for all grades. It's pretty consistent across all grades. Second grade reading is definitely a bright spot. So you see second grade math and second grade reading are both doing excellent on most campuses, and so again, we're looking at that. Celebrating, but also continuing to dive into the data to see how to continue that work forward. And then fourth and fifth grade reading as well. The 74th percentile and the 66th percentile, respectively. So those are the four bright spots that our team compiled the data and saw that emerge. So we're going to go ahead. Any questions about the bright spots before we move on to the areas?
District-wide?
Yep. So this is all 6 elementary schools combining their data. Yep. Okay. Why don't you move on, Scott?
All right. Just like Michigan's basketball team, even though they're 29-2, and they've beaten Michigan State twice this year in the basketball, there's still areas of improvement. So we're having success here in the district at our elementary in math and reading, but we want to continue to get better. And if you look on here, what we have is, looking at our 4th and 5th grade in math, their CGP again, their conditional growth and percentile is 4th grade 49% and 5th grade 59%. And again, that's normal growth for over the year. When we have around 50%, we're saying through the whole year they're growing at a normal rate when compared to the national average. But we want to continue to improve. So we look at that and say we want to continue to get them up to where that second and third grade was at, where we're getting them even up to 70% so that they're accelerating their growth and continuing to get better. The same with our third and fifth grade. Again, 57th, 66th percentile. Norm, even that 66 is pushing toward that 70% like we want to see in reading, and we want to continue to get better. How are we doing that? As you probably have heard in many presentations, we're implementing a new math curriculum, which we have a lot of hope. We're here at Lincoln Elementary. We've been putting that in this year, and we're seeing a lot of good things there. It's a good, challenging curriculum, and we want to continue to, hopefully, as we implement that, will help our students to even keep pushing them in the world of math. Implementation also with math is we have WAGGLE, which with NWEA and the math curriculum helps the students to adapt the areas that they want to grow in, to create individual plans so those students can really work on the areas that have been indicated they need to get better at in their math. So it creates an individual adaptive program for students. Implementation of our reading programs. Again, we're putting in new things like benchmark assessment and UFly to help support our students and continue to help them to get better with their reading. So we're doing lots of things to continue to help these numbers to go in a positive direction. Next steps, as you will probably be hearing more soon, is that as April comes around, it's testing season. To be exact, MSTEP and PSATs, the SAT and all of them start at the beginning. The window opens up April 6th, goes to May 15th, and that's when all the schools will be doing different state testing. For us at the elementary level, it's grades 3 through 5. And then obviously they continue that with middle school and high school. So that's coming up, and then our last round of NWEA testing starts in May. From that last window is May 4th through May 21st. We are continuing to implement as part of our pillars a strategic plan, teacher clarity. It's a really important part of helping our students to grow not only in math and reading, but in all subject areas. The more that students know what they're learning, why it's relevant to learn that, and how they are going to know that they're successful, that's what teacher clarity is all about, and that will help support them in all content areas. The same with PBIS. We want to help support students to heading in a positive direction, and when we see them doing positive behavior, reinforce that so we can get repeated behavior over and over again, which is Pillar 2 in the strategic plan. Also, as I mentioned earlier, we're continuing to implement our Into Math, our new curriculum, benchmark, UFly, and along with that, we have our Tier 2 math and reading interventions to help support our students that just need a little more extra support so that they can be successful throughout the school year and improve. With that said, as always, we thank you, the board, for allowing us to present this data to you. We thank you, as always, for all your support to our students and to our staff. And we will continue to do everything we can to help you know that we're taking care of business in the classrooms for you. And we will continue to give you progress on how we're doing at the elementary level in the future. Yeah. Thank you. If you have any questions?
Yeah. Questions?
Always thinking hard over there. No questions for you. You used yours already.
No. The 50%, where did that figure come from? That is growth.
The 50th percentile. So when you get your different scores in the NWEA, they start to compare your scores with the national average for that grade level, and then so like a normal growth is 50th percentile. So if say I scored within a 50th percentile, that means that throughout the school year I'm staying on track in my grade. So if I'm a third grader and I'm scoring in the 50th percentile, it means I'm staying on track as a third grader.
Okay.
If I score get where I'm starting to score 60, 70 percentile, then my numbers might go up, and it, might even be showing numbers that like I'm really getting ready for that next level of fourth grade. So that's what
Okay.
I just have more of a request. I know weekly we get the Besser updates from Josh, and I really enjoy reading through those and seeing what's going on weekly at the schools. Could we maybe have the other schools start sending that to the board? I'd really like to, be part of that.
Good job, John.
Yeah.
Your peers will love you.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I'll send a message to my team as well.
Oh, yes, I should have worked tonight.
And just a little further clarification on the percentiles. So NWEA is reluctant to say, tie it to a grade level. But what it does is it says that a student that is this age, this grade level, taking the test at this time, that 50th percentile it predicts, that kind of growth. So you could be at the 50th percentile and technically be below third grade. And that the concern that we're working through with our processes are, if that's the case, where you're below grade level, even though they don't use that term, and you maintain the 50th percentile, you will end third grade below fourth grade. You'll maintain that status quo, that gap between where you should be at this time. That's why when we get into the 60th and 70th percentile, that student is breaking free of that group and getting in front of it and accelerating their growth. So we really, for a student that is on track and is at the appropriate RIT level, the 50th percentile might be the appropriate goal. But for a student that is significantly below or behind, or however you want to describe it, the 50th percentile is just going to continue to maintain them being below. So we really need to push it to that 70th percentile. And we did have an NWA professional development last spring, or was it this fall?
This fall.
This fall,
yeah.
Where NWA came up and basically looked at our numbers and said, really, our target does need to be the 70th overall, versus the 50th, because again, you look at our proficiency levels, we're not where we need to be with proficiency. That translates to our RIT scores are lower than where they would be. So the CGP, again, takes all that into consideration and says, these students performed as expected, which would be the 50th percentile, or these students accelerated, which would be 51 and up, or they fell behind, which would be 49 and down.
I had a quick question about the waggle. Is that kind of like what, I think it was Imagine Math, I'm trying to remember what my daughter used to slave over all the time, and does it replace Imagine Math, and is it augmented? Is it serve the same function in the new curriculum?
Kind of along those lines. I mean, I've worked with other programs like it in the past, and what's nice about it is when it's tied to the NWEA, and when those students take that test and the new score comes in, it immediately kind of updates that information, and based off how they did, will create their path that kind of that's where the adaptive part comes in and creates a path for them to really work on the areas where it showed that their thinking at that time needs to get stronger. So it's a really nice program to continue to help those students get some individualized practice.
Oh, thank you. Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Sorry.
And before these fine gentlemen get started, I don't know if Romeo told me I was supposed to give him a shout out tonight. So he is home recovering. He has a long recovery road ahead of him, but he is doing well. And so Mike and Eric are here filling in not only at this presentation, but also on the day-to-day at the high school. which could be a blessing.
He brings a certain energy to our building, and it's definitely needed. That being said, I think when he heard we were going to be doing this presentation on data, I think that's when he planned to have the surgery. So it was, worked out in his favor, I guess. But glad you guys got to hear about NWEA, and as a high school group, we like to do things differently. If Romeo hasn't modeled that, we will tonight. For the last 5 years, I have been part of the team, and we talk about school data and really have struggled to figure out what can we do to use data that means something to increase rigor, increase expectations, and really bring the next crop of leaders to a place of success. And NWA is a wonderful tool, one that we at one point in time did use at the high school. But unfortunately, the standards and components that it's designed around are limited to a K-8 lens. And so understanding that, we wanted to look for something that would really tie back to the Michigan standards, specifically in math and in reading. And a few years ago, I had the chance to go to a testing conference, and Renaissance Star was there. And they showed, again, hey, look at the things that we do. We can give you some actionable data. We can be used for benchmarking, progress monitoring, and really kind of give you more of a compass for navigating the SAT data. That is what we are going to be criticized over in the spring. And unfortunately, the SAT is not something that is tied to any Michigan standards that we know of. And so it's really kind of hard to figure out how do we go from where we are to the SAT proficiency ranges, right? And so knowing that, we look deeper at this. One of the things that is really neat about this tool is that not only can we use it for benchmarking just to see, that temperature check of where students are performing academically, but it is also a tool that can be used to predict where students will end up on the SAT. So while we are going to be following the benchmarking schedule that the elementary has of the fall and the winter and spring, we already do enough testing in the spring with our MME that we are not going to be doing the spring benchmark, but really using our fall and our winter to try and identify that trend, so we know when we go into spring, we have a pretty good idea of where we're going to land on the SAT. This was a pretty fast start for us. We got trained on how to use this as a teacher the first week of in-service this year. And so it was a very rushed start for us, and then immediately jumped into assessment for that. And so it was quite a journey, but I'll let Eric take the next part here.
Sure. So what we're trying to do, obviously, with this is establish a baseline. So we want to define success, right? Before we can maximize state proficiency, we have to establish a true, reliable baseline. And that's what we were able to do this fall for the first time, is establish a baseline across all 4 grades. We also are trying to build an assessment culture at Alpena High School. So the primary goal this year is fostering a school environment where students understand the why behind taking a test rather than just taking the test. And the other major thing that we're getting from STAR is actionable starting points. So we are going to know essentially where we are going. So it says this baseline year ensures that our future target setting and intervention planning are built on accurate reflections of student capability, not just test fatigue. So what this does, it breaks this down into 3 really easy for us to understand metrics. So the first one, the scaled score, is essentially your own scale. So the STAR assessment shows you where you start in your baseline and then shows you your actual growth. The next thing it does, just like NWEA, it gives us a percentile ranking, so it shows us where we rank nationally, or each student ranks nationally, and it also gives us a grade equivalent for the state of Michigan. So based on how we score, it shows us where we rank for each grade.
Yep. So one of the really neat things too about this is that it does not just provide admin a snapshot of their students, But also, there's a lot of different reports that teachers can run individually. Some of you at home or in the building here may have received some reports from your English teachers this fall and this winter, because we did have teachers that sent these home that really kind of expressed where your student was at, steps you can take that kind of tie into those standard scores you were talking about there. Now, we're going to switch gears here and talk about SGP, the student growth percentile. So this is really like one of the things that we feel pretty strongly about here at the high school, because we know in the fall our first baseline benchmark there was not where we want it to be, because we had students who, again, are like, STAR, what is it? What is this assessment? What does that mean? Not necessarily making the connection to NWEA, but as we go down into this cycle of continuous improvement, we got into the second benchmark, and students learned that when it came to this assessment tool, we were using it for placement and different classes, different interventions. We have a wonderful reading intervention course that we were able to use student scores from this and do some additional testing with students. Some students were like, holy cow, you know, I didn't take the fall very seriously, and so really I shouldn't be tested for this because I'm a great reader, really good with comprehension, and I will try harder on the winter benchmark. So that kind of speaks to the culture of doing your best, regardless of what type of assessment you're taking. But that's just something we want to work on as we go forward. So with the growth percentile, this is where we're talking about the difference from where students started in the fall to that winter. If we had just done one fall benchmark so far, we wouldn't have an SGP or a growth percentile because there would be no growth to really talk about that we would have collected. One of the things that's really exciting here is that dark green that you're looking at, that's that high growth, that's beyond 65, the 65th percentile. So when you think about it, it means that out of 100 kids, you did as well or better as 65, which is pretty awesome, especially when you start talking about students performing in that darker green. One of the things that I think should be noted too is that our goal this year with our benchmark assessment was really focusing on core English classes and math classes. And that was in 9, 10, and 11. So I know that what you're looking at also references 12th grade. Those are select students that, for whatever reason, were in an 11th grade class, maybe for the first time because of what they took their freshman year, or maybe for a second time because they're needing a second round at that grade level. So I would ask that when you're looking at this data, you know, put a little bit of an asterisk next to 12th grade, knowing that those are fourth year students that are really just kind of a special case. So, but again, you kind of see here that in reading and math that our students have made some great gains. In the parentheses, you see the number of students that are in each of those ranges. And we're just really excited that as we went through the year, that students were starting to take it more seriously, and we saw some big gains in every level. But again, it goes back to the 9th grade really having a good year, and 10th grade as well, having 51% in math. I think we can look at our SAT scores. We know that math is an area that we're working on in our district. That's one of the reasons why, you know, at the high school we're using Savas, and that is a new curriculum in the last year that is got some different components to it that are tightly aligned to SAT style questions. And the nice thing about STAR again is that there are resources that are connected to Savas. So a math teacher could use this assessment tool and then would be prompted based on the scores that they're getting in their classes to utilize different Savas lessons to reinforce or reteach different skills. So English continues to be a strength of ours in the district. As you can see that, you know, even I know that I said that the 12th graders are a special band there, but, you know, when you talk about 54% of those 12th graders are making high growth, as well as 45% of those 11th graders achieving high growth, that's pretty exciting for us. So it shows that we are chipping away at deficits and improving skills as we go forward. So this right here, what? Okay. So this one, I think is just, you see a lot of red right away. But that's because this is about a test for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade that is based on how they would do on the SAT, which they take their 11th grade year. So predictably, a freshman should not do well on the SAT, which is why you see when you're looking at the left side of the screen, especially in math, you see that big red box. But as you progress through those students, you see 10th grade, that red box gets a little smaller. And then it gets much smaller in 11th grade. So you can see that our students, as they have progressed throughout their time at AHS, their math skills have increased. This is exciting for us just because in the past, beyond a teacher's grade book, we really didn't have a way of showing this. And so this is really neat because this is something that is standardized. It's normed just like the NWA. One of the exciting things about STAR is that it's continually normed, so it's not just normed every 3 years or 5 years. Every time students are taking this assessment, it's normed. So it is live collecting data and really reflective of how our students are doing across the state and across the nation. And again, you can see over on the right side that our reading data continues to be something that mirrors the math in terms of growth from 9th to 11th grade, but we see much more in the blue range, which is that proficiency range that we're excited to live in. And obviously, we're always shooting for that green above average area. Any questions at this point in time?
Can you explain 12th grade then, why it kind of, I can see your pattern that you're talking about per grade, but why in 12th that goes back up?
Yes. So 12th grade would likely be a student who's in a fundamentals of Algebra 2 or Algebra 2 class that has struggled with math throughout their scholastic career. Could be the second time they've taken that math class. There's all kinds of reasons. So, but that would be the reason why that 12th grade, because that would be a group of students that in math may not be the strongest student.
Because that goes back then to what you said before. It's really just the 9th, 10th, and 11th graders that are taking this, but it's just the...
Right.
Okay.
Yep. Any other questions?
Can you remind me, when was the winter testing window? When did they do this? I remember.
Great question. It was right after we came back. It was like the first week we came back from winter break.
Okay.
Because we, while the window for the winter benchmark is a good 3 weeks, the third week was when we're in the midst of our finals. And so we didn't want to have a lot of time spent doing this when students should be reviewing and getting ready for their finals.
So I think the other great part about this test is it really gives us an opportunity to do something with the data that we collect. So some of the things that we've done so far, like Mike was saying earlier, we do have a class called Lit Lab where we were able to identify students that were really struggling with certain parts of English. We've run the fundamentals of algebra and algebra 2 before for the same thing, students that are really struggling in English or in algebra that they can get into. We're also bringing back homeroom to help target some of these supports for students. And again, it utilizes, or it's utilized to immediately place students into appropriate classes. So we don't have to wait a year, we don't have to wait a semester, we can see right away where students are at and get them the support they need so they can continue making growth. And like all data, right is never done. Data is never just collected, it's systematically reviewed to guide action. So what we're able to do, like we said, with 2 testing windows is collect data, use this data, and once again, really target the supports that each individual student needs rather than kind of make blanket assumptions that everyone who's struggling in English needs the same exact supports. There's a lot of reasons somebody might have a 58% in English. It's not always the same exact reason. And same goes for math.
Well, I know that Rome did make a request that if you'd like to go over this data with him, just feel free to reach out to him. He loves data, and we'd love to take that conversation.
Yeah.
So, with that, thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's sunshine.
And as if I may.
Yes, please.
As the junior high team is getting set up too. Foundation of our strategic plan is standard assessments, standard grading, which we'll hear about here. We want to, the nice thing about NWEA is and STAR is they are reliable, proven assessments. Are they the be-all, end-all? Absolutely not. What we really want to get to is district-wide, we have this standard grading so that our grades are truly highly informative and accurate in predicting, future success on the standards and assessments and all that. So standard assessments are one piece of that, and right now it's easy to utilize them because they are trusted tools for giving us gauges. There is a whole world of grading and local assessment, teacher tests and things like that, that we haven't really spent a whole lot of time talking about. Then blends right nicely into this grading conversation, the work that's been going on. The junior high has been leading the way for, 5 years or more at this point. High school is following, and then the elementaries we're working on aligning all of that work so that when, I don't want to steal all the thunder there, but so that we build this robust system of all these different components where we can get information in a timely and valuable way for our students. So it worked out perfectly that there was a lot of good conversation at the Strategic Plan Summit about grading and what we do. And so that's why we have Katie and her team here to give us an update on our grading.
Thank you, Dave, and thanks for the opportunity to speak about grading. I am super proud of our team at Thunder Bay Junior High. They have been working, like Dave said, for 5 years, perfecting the craft of grading. And so we're just going to walk you through that process and what it looks like. So back in the 2021-2022 school year, we had a committee at the Thunder Bay Junior High called Making Middle School Count. And this committee was really investigating what can we do to hold students accountable at the middle school level. In high school, you have credits that you earn, and those credits dictate whether you're a freshman, sophomore, etc. At the middle school, that's not the case. Students do not earn credits to move to the next grade. And so this team was tasked with, what does it look like? How can we ensure that our students are prepared to move to that next level when they get to the high school? And so from this conversation, this committee came to the conclusion that when a student fails a course in the middle school, how do we know that they don't know the information in that course? How do we ensure that the grade that they're given is an accurate reflection of their knowledge? And so that question at the time was one that was posed, is what's in a grade? And so that was something that that team looked at and realized with what we are currently doing at the middle school, we had a lot of consistency and things to take a look at in order to ensure that our grades were aligned. So the first thing is defining the purpose of a grade. So the team got together and made a statement, and this is what a purpose of a grade is at Thunder Bay Junior High. The purpose of a grade is to communicate fairly, consistently, and accurately the academic progress and achievement of each student at Thunder Bay Junior High. So we had a deliberate evolution in this process, and the work continues to evolve and grow because, again, what's in a grade? With all of the new things that continue to come out with student work and curriculum work, we continue to ensure that we are doing the best work and ensuring that our grades are an accurate reflection. And so this was a process. And so the first phase was foundation and reflection. Phase 2 looked at standardization and consistency, and phase 3 is that paradigm shift. So for this work, we had to build a strong foundation, and it requires professional learning, not only for our administrative team, but also our teacher team. And so this work is rooted in teacher clarity, which you've heard a lot about through our strategic plan, and it is the work that we have been involved in for a number of years here at Alpena Public Schools. We also have really investigated and done professional learning around Ken O'Connor's work, which is a repair kit for broken grades. 15 fixes is what he calls it. And then also Robert Marzano and his work with classroom assessments and grading. So looking at our baseline back in 2021, 2022, we had to really take a look at what was our baseline and where we were at. So professional learning took place at our teacher collaborations, focusing on the question, what is in a grade? We holistically as a staff reflected on our current grading practices, and we evaluated similarities and differences in grading practices between all of the departments and grade levels. That was the foundation work. Within that work, the essential question is, how confident are we that our grades are consistent, accurate, learning focused, and meaningful? And at the end of the day, that's what we need our grades to be, so we can make decisions about students, whether they have mastered content and they're ready to move on or not. So looking at standardization and consistency, we have standardized our gradebook codes, which that's really important with communicating with families, so it's consistent across the grade levels and departments. We've established school-wide grading expectations, and that is something that I share out with parents at the beginning of the school year, so it's clear and evident what all of our practices and policies are around grading, and teachers also include that information in their course syllabus at the beginning of the year. We ensured consistency within our departments and grade levels. We spend a lot of time in our staff collaborations and professional learning, ensuring that our grade levels and departments are on the same page. You've also heard team time mentioned a number of times, and at the Strategic Plan Summit, they talked about it. That's another place where our teachers have the opportunity to collaborate to ensure that everyone is on the same page with what they're doing at the grade levels and within the department. Another thing that we looked at was strengthening our support systems for our students, because that's critical. We need to ensure that we're correctly supporting our students and providing them with additional support if they need it through interventions. And also our advisory is very important, and we looked at bringing consistency to that as a place that really allowed teachers to help communicate with families, and also our students have that advisory teacher for 3 years. So that teacher really has the opportunity to develop a strong relationship with that student and can see their 3-year trajectory on how they're doing in all their classes. Within phase three, it's the paradigm shift, and that's where we began to weight our grades consistently within departments and grade levels, and we had an emphasis on mastery tasks, which those are assessments. And when you think assessment, many times you think a test or a quiz, but it goes beyond that. It could be a demonstration, it could be a project. There's so many different ways that our teachers can assess student learning. It could be through a discussion, and so those are things that we continue to work on through professional learning to help our teachers have different types of opportunities for students to demonstrate the mastery of a topic. Students are given the opportunity to reassess if they need to be able to demonstrate mastery. And there's no point deductions for noncompliance, so our grades are a reflection of demonstrated mastery of the state standards. So with the course weighting, looking at it a little bit more in depth, our mastery tasks carry the highest weight. Many of our departments are a 60-40, with 60% being the mastery tasks, 40% being the assignments, but also there are some that are 70-30, 80-20. And so that's consistent among the departments and grade levels for what those weighted percentages are. And that's, again, important for that consistency that we're looking for building wide. When we're looking at grading for mastery, we want that grade to reflect the student's knowledge. We want it to be based on our state standards, and we want it to be assessed in multiple ways. What we don't want for grading is point deductions for noncompliance. The behavior, students not doing something or not turning in work on time, is addressed through interventions, not in the grade book, through alternate ways, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. So when it comes to reassessment, our students have the opportunity to reassess their knowledge on mastery tasks. That is determined by department, so all of our departments have a practice on how students might be afforded the opportunity to retake an assessment. It could be if a student doesn't do well in assessment, they may need to work on another study guide to help relearn the material, have a conversation with the teacher. They may study at home with a parent. There's different things that each department has a student do before they reassess to ensure that they're taking the opportunity to relook at that material and not just retesting to retest. So again, redoing those assessments promotes the mastery of class content. Just like when you were 16 and you took that driver's test, if you did not pass, you had the opportunity to redo it after going through some more courses and practicing. And so it's very similar to what we're looking at with assessments with our students. We want them to be able to master that content. We want them to learn that content because that's the foundation of what they're going to need when they move on to the next course or the next unit or the next chapter. Another thing that we did in our grading practices was eliminate extra credit. And why is that? Probably most all of you, as myself, grew up, we would ask, what can I do for extra credit from the teacher? However, when you're looking at consistency in grading, extra credit inflates grades. So it doesn't give an accurate depiction of what the student knows. So if a student's doing a crossword puzzle and that's going to count as extra credit, that crossword puzzle is not demonstrating student mastery. And so that is inflating the grade. So what we're looking at instead is opportunities for students to redo things in order to demonstrate that mastery. And that's really important that they have the opportunity to do that. So how do we handle late work? Late work is handled, each department has a policy that they are very clear with their students. Late work is accepted without penalty for a very specific time as outlined by each department. And so the reason for that is because we want that grade, again, to demonstrate the content mastery. And so poor work habits, students that are not turning things in on time, are addressed through other ways, such as interventions, classroom consequences, parent communication is super important, and not through that grade reduction. Going back to what I said earlier about those unified classroom or the unified codes within Student View, whenever a student turns in an assignment late, it's designated as LA. So that gives parents an opportunity when they're looking at their student's grade, they can see right off the bat, my child has turned in 3 late assignments. While they might have finished them, there's a conversation then around, you're doing a great job, but we need to get this work in on time. And that's something that we're looking at within the building level too, but also it's a great way to communicate with parents using that uniform system in the grade book. We have our advisory classes. They're super important because, like I said, that teacher has that student for 3 years. And so within our advisories, we're doing weekly grade checks. So our teachers are constantly monitoring student progress. We have progress reports, and those are critical because each quarter, they're distributed 3 times. It's a paper copy because even though our parents have access to Synergy 24/7, that's going to be their most up-to-date grades. It's important that our parents receive that paper copy because not all parents may be using that online portal. And so they receive that paper copy and they get that 3 times per quarter. And the parents are signing that and they're returning it to the advisory teacher when it gets returned or the next day. And so that's something that we have consistently done across the building. They are distributed on a specific day. We let all families know that progress reports were passed out. They're due the following day. We do a robocall or text or email to let families know that they're due. So that way that helps bring consistency across the building. We have our advisory gradebook, and again, it's consistent school-wide. Parents can see very easily if their student is utilizing that advisory time to complete assignments and do work. They can also see if their students are turning in progress reports on time. Targeted interventions and failing grades procedure. So supporting students who need more than just the classroom instruction. We have a failing grades procedure that is done in our advisory class. That starts the second progress report of the quarter. Students that are failing 2 or more classes have a process that they work through with their teacher, and that includes parent communication as well. And what they're doing with the teacher is writing a plan of what do they need to do to bring those grades up, and also involving the parents in that communication. And then what do we do from there? We have multiple avenues for interventions for students. We have lunchtime interventions, and that's where students have the opportunity to work on missing work and executive functioning activities. We have after-school interventions. Those are typically, we do those at the start of the school year, and that's with students who struggle. We try to set them up. Maybe they struggled the year before. We try to set them up for success at the start of the school year by doing activities with a small group and looking at, again, at that executive functioning, how to be organized, how do I use a planner, and things that will help set them up for success throughout the school year. And we also have a problem-solving team, and this team looks at individual students and what struggles they're having, and then makes recommendations as to what next steps might be in place. So with all of that grading, We also want to recognize our students, and it's so important to recognize their hard work and effort. So how do we do that? We have our honor roll, which recognizes students with a 3.0 GPA or higher, and our pack is amazing. We have a small but mighty pack at Thunder Bay Junior High, and we do ice cream socials to celebrate those students. We have, at the end of 8th grade, a 4.0 cumulative award for students that have a 4.0 for all 3 years. We have a presidential award, and that's for 8th graders that have a 3.5 or higher cumulative GPA in their winter semester of their 8th grade year. And it also looks at NWEA scores. They must be at or above the 80th percentile on those spring tests. And then we have classroom honors. All of our teachers give awards to students based in academic excellence, academic improvement, and citizenship. And so there is no limit to the amount of awards that a teacher can give. And so we highly encourage our teachers to celebrate their students and the hard work that they're putting in their academics. So what's next? We continue to strengthen our processes with grading. The work continues because, as you heard at the Strategic Plan Summit, we talked about standard assessments. That work has been going on in the junior high for the past about 2 years, and we continue to work on that to ensure that we have standard assessments across our grade levels and departments. That will give us localized data similar to what NWA does for at a national level. We can look at that, but this will bring it down more locally so we can really target where are areas of concerns, and we can make immediate changes to our instruction in order to help our students progress and move forward. And then also additional interventions. We're always looking at what else can we do to support our students? And so we would love to have additional interventions during our school day. And so that's one of the things that we talked about at the Strategic Plan Summit too. What can we do? Looking at potentially adding those into the school day. And what do we need for that? We need an additional teacher in order to provide that additional reading and math focus for students that are struggling. Because while we have lunchtime and after school interventions, that sometimes is not enough. And so how can we add in more throughout the school day for students? And that is something that we're investigating. And so that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Anybody have any questions? I would just something you said jogged my memory. Didn't we have a discussion at one point of quite a few years ago about our, I think it was in our student handbook, that we were penalizing students for absences in terms of their grades? And I seem to remember pointing out that our policy said that we couldn't do that, and I actually caught some flack for that. In fact, to quote one teacher, this individual said to me that I had basically destroyed, by pointing that out, I had destroyed our attendance policy. And I remember thinking, boy, that's a bit harsh, but it turns out that perhaps that's, maybe that wasn't such a bad move, because it kind of sounds like that's where our new focus is there, to really test what they know, not just whether they're coming to class.
Yeah, that policy was at the high school.
Mm-hmm.
So they had an attendance policy for grades. That's not something that the junior high had, but you're exactly right. Not having attendance play into those grades is critical.
I'm feeling slightly less evil today than I felt yesterday. So
what happens to those assignments that just never get turned in? Do they at some point end up being reflected in their grade, right?
Right. Not every system is perfect. And so at some point, outside of picking up a student's hand and helping them write, there are some students that just refuse to pick up a pencil and write. And so what do? We continue to work with those families, have meetings, and try to continue to intervene. So what can we do to get those assignments in? So there is a point where that assignment does become a 0 at some point. So yes, is it a perfect system in that regard? At some point, you have to move on. Mm-hmm. And so there are instances where students do receive a 0 if they are not within that late work time frame.
Other comments or questions?
During the day, the interventions that you are talking about, how would that work? Is that just like a class that kids who are struggling would go to every day, or
the current way we're doing it, or what we're hoping to do?
What you're hoping to do.
So what we're hoping to do, yes, it would be a class that students would attend during the school day. So it would be part of their schedule, and it would be solely based on data, and parents would be part of that conversation. So we're looking at students that would be struggling in math or reading, and that's where we would be able to add an extra course into their day. So it would replace an elective, but they need that extra support in math or reading, and that is a critical way to do it, because currently at lunch, our dean spends quite a bit of time on intervention days grabbing students because they want to spend time at lunch with their friends, but also academics is very important as well. And so we get them to their intervention group to help them. So building that into the school day would be an awesome thing to help more kids.
Well, that's all very exciting. We want to thank you for Thunder Bay's leadership on this question. It's going to be exciting to see it develop.
Thank you.
Thanks for your backup dancer.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so that brings us then to property-related items and school bus bids. And Simon, are you coming up to talk about that, or would you
Nope,
like to?
Mary's coming up for
Mary's
buses,
Mary's going to
and-
talk about that?
Simon will come up for Besser.
I don't know anything about the buses.
Okay, very good. Come on up, Mary.
So we have a few buses this year that are not going to pass inspection for next school year. So we decided to put a bid out for new, used, or leased buses. We only had one bus company respond, which was Holland Bus Company. And they have some 2024 models that are used. And what they are is lease turn-ins from actually Elkona School District that they'll be turning in at the end of the school year. They quoted in the bid $82,832 for each bus. Keep in mind, a brand new bus costs $125 or more. So I've known Ken Haverkate, their sales rep, for years. And I told Lacey, I said, call him back, since he was the only bid. Call him back and tell him it's too expensive. So she did, and he came down $2,832 on each bus. So we're looking at purchasing 3, which is $240,000. Those funds are mostly set aside in the long-range maintenance, and we can move a few around because we set aside a big chunk in that account or in that fund at the end of the school year last year. So I would like to get 3 of them. Ken has them set aside for us.
How many miles do we usually get on a bus before it won't meet inspection, Mary?
Oh, it really depends on the bus. They try to rotate like the country ones back into the city so they're not being beat up all the time on the country roads a lot. Total mileage on the buses, I'm not sure. They probably, I'm not going to
We can get
say
that by-
because we do, huh?
We can get that information. I would
Yeah,
assume.
we can get that, yeah.
I was just wondering if the 40,000 miles that are on the buses offset the deduction in price.
Especially considering their gas versus diesel.
Yeah, that was where my question was headed, Mary, was, did that make sense today?
But do I think the 2024 buses with 40,000 miles on them is worth $80,000 a piece?
Yep.
I do believe so,
Okay,
yes.
but just whether those miles were,
I think
They're coming from Elkona School District, so I mean, their roads are kind of like ours out in the country. Their district is not as big as ours. So,
How many
I think
years?
AJ's question's an interesting question. You can get us that information. You know, what's the life expectancy on the gas bus and the life expectancy on the diesel bus for comparison? 55,000 miles isn't a lot, if you're getting a couple 100,000, but how does that compare? So that'll just be interesting information to obtain before making a decision.
so the 2024s, the mileage range is going to be somewhere between 36,000 and 40,000. The 2021s that they still have available are the ones that are in the mileage range of 47 to 55,000. So just recently, in the last 3-4 years, is when we bought our first gas buses. We went to gas because the diesel with the DEF fluid and the way those parts, they wear out and it causes repairs and stuff. So the gas buses are more reliable as far as not needing as much upkeep on them as what the diesels do.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. The diesels with the DEF systems, and there's a lot of repairs associated with those, and of course, the diesel is actually more than the gas right now. So it does, you got to pencil it out. I'm not against gas at all at this point. I'm just curious for the longevity, how that compares. Because our buses.
We really wouldn't have longevity though, because we only started buying gas buses just a couple, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when we bought our first gas buses.
So we don't have any of those with high mileage at this point?
I can check the mileage on them, but, I mean, we're not gonna know how long they last. You know what I mean? The life of them, because we haven't retired any of them yet, I guess is what I'm saying. Unless
I'm
I
assuming we're not the only one
misunderstand
in the state of Michigan that's used a gas bus, though, are we?
No, but I wouldn't know who did.
Okay.
So, I can give you what we have, of course, but I don't, for our district, and every district's longevity on their bus is gonna be different because they run different roads and they run different routes and everything, so. But I'm happy to give you copies of the reports for the busing.
Mary, maybe I'm looking at the numbers a little backwards, but kind of looks like the 21s are actually the better deal for the miles. We dropped 23,000 per bus, and we only pick up 15,000 miles.
Well, there was a reason why they're sitting there those were released out of their lease. They've been sitting on the lot for a couple of years, or a year and a half, or whatever now. So
that's why but I'm saying that if we wanted to pick up a better deal, those ones look like the better deal.
the 21s are less expensive with more mileage on them. I'm not sure if they were, I mean, I can find out for Ken why he was saying go with the newer ones. He's not gonna, I've known him for years. You know, he's not gonna, I don't think he's gonna lead me astray on them.
Tell him 52 on them, and we'll take 4.
There's only 3 available.
Well, and that goes into the previous question, and to AJ's point, the 21s have 10 to 15,000 miles more, but they're $20,000 less. If the longevity is such that you're going to get several 100,000 miles, then it is a better purchase price to get the 21s, and so that's why that all kind of plays into the conversation. And I don't think it's unreasonable to ask those questions.
And both the 21 and 24 are both from Alcona schools then?
The 21s, I don't know where they're from.
Can we find out? That'd make a big difference.
Pretty sure the 24s are from Alcona.
The wear and tear from the 21s, if they were, you know, back roads or highway or what they were used for.
Is the concern, Mary, that the 21s, since they've been sitting around, they're going to need more maintenance, you know, belts and hoses that have, you know, decayed while they were sitting there, or what's the...
I would think so. There's a reason why, I mean, Lacey and the mechanics were pushing for the 24s. They're newer. They got more of a warranty period left on them. You know, the 21s, yeah, it is less expensive. I don't know if Ken would come down on the price like he did on the 24s, but, and like I said, I've known Ken for years, and he's not, I mean, he's somebody, I developed a relationship with him when I worked in the other school districts, and he's never led me wrong before, so, but I can ask him where they came from, and I can find out, a little bit more on the 21s.
What, do you want more than 3 buses, or is 3 all that we can afford?
I was just looking for 3. is what
Okay,
we were
that'll
looking
keep the
for.
fleet in
Mhm.
circulation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just curious, I understand they're 140,000 for new. Of course, they're 0 miles, and we're in a remote district. How does that compare on a lease for us if you were to balance that out, or to weigh it against each other?
I worked with leases when I was a business manager in Agre, and it's okay, but you don't have, the buses have so much more to them than just those couple years that you're under lease. So you're constantly like paying for new instead of, you know.
Yeah, no, 100%, but there does come a point at which the maintenance then comes up. So sometimes lease is better with fleet options. So I was just curious if we've reviewed that and looked at it on a, because we would be, well, never mind.
So do you have a clear idea what further information the board would like for next week?
Yes.
Great. Oh, super, thank you. Any further questions for Mary on that? Thank you very much.
Okay.
So what I have is we have a Besser sidewalk replacement bid to replace the sidewalk on the north end of Besser along the playground, and then add a small piece on the south end from the, what entrance exit is that? On the south end? South entrance back to the parent drop-off pickup loop. So these are a couple things I think just got missed in some of the bond work. So we probably should have did them when we were there, but so we received 4 bids. 3 were very competitive, and DeRozier Masonry was the low bid at total cost $47,990. And the other 2 bids were within $2,000 of that, so. Mary, this would be charged to the bond potentially? Okay, so.
Great point, thank you.
Yeah.
And we would for sure be going with the options, which they all bid on? Or?
Yeah, well, the option 1 to add that little piece of sidewalk, yeah, from the south end, yes.
Okay.
I would.
And it does say the past performance was part of the decision as well. They've done work
Yep,
for us
yeah,
before.
Jimmy DeRozier's been
Okay.
Very good to the district with past work and donations and things like that, so. No concerns there with his performance or his past work, so. I also want to work on the drainage. The hope is to work on the drainage along the playground over there a little bit, so address that issue. So, questions?
Anybody? Okay. Well,
Straightforward.
thank you, Simon.
Yeah. I would have did terrible on the buses.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to chalk that one up to continuing chemo brain. Yes, thank you. All right. All right, well, that brings us then to our policy discussion, and you have all your policies there. And I had something that Summer had shared with me from Neola, but I think, Dave, you said you had an even more succinct statement to make about the various policies and why they look like they look. So just for some perspective and, what's the word I'm looking for? Context.
Yep. So I just want to make sure I'm connecting the right ones. So while there are, I don't know how many policies on here, what's happening with many of them is they're taking 3 existing policies and condensing them into one policy. So you'll see this in the 100, 300, and I think 400 series or 1,000 series. So that's why you see a lot of rescinding and then replacement. So, PO 1422, point 2, I think that's our first one. And, so that, yes. So from my other sheet here. So taking 9 policies, turning them into 3. So in the long run, as we go forward, anytime we update the non-discrimination policies, we'll be dealing with 3 policies instead of 9. And so that came from Phil Mikulski, our Neola rep, just the explanation of it. And so 1422, that's our non-discrimination policy. And that will be the new policy for the 1000 series. Then we'd rescind the other 2 or 3 policies depending on the series. Do the exact same thing with 3000 and again with the 4000. And so just on your agenda, you see replacement. That becomes the new policy. Rescind on the next 2. Those are being rescinded. And you've got copies of those. And we are open to discussing digital versions of this versus printing all, especially when they're rescinding an entire policy. But we just felt we would print it up.
Just checking on those that are revisions. So, for example, 2210.
I'll get to that in a minute.
You're going to get to, you're getting to that. Okay, great.
Yeah, so I'm speaking of the non-harassments that are in 14, then skip to 2010. Second page then has the 3000 and 4000 series. So everyone clear on that? And this is the first reading, so we'd move it to a regular meeting, and if there's any questions, or we can, again, just keep it on the agenda until we take action on them. So if you're ready, the 20, on the first page, 2210, curriculum development. If you flip to I think it's the last sentence on that one, and that was changed due to a change in the pupil accounting manual. And so you'll see it on the back of that policy. Just add in those lines of documentation related to the calculation of instructional time for each approved course. And so that's, I think technically it might be just a technical update because it's updating with the law. But that's what that one is. And if you're ready, the next one, 2266. That one is changed the definition of. So again, it was initiated by a change in the reporting system at the federal level. So they changed the definition of fondling. So just for those in the audience, this is a non-discrimination on the basis of sex in education programs or activities. And that one was changed. The term officially is criminal sexual conduct, and the terms sexual orientation, and so they've put in the explanation of to include fondling, which matches the National Incident-Based Reporting System's definition of fondling. And that is I must have missed it. Yeah, on the second page, you'll see. So it said fondling, and then they call it criminal sexual conduct and contact. Thank you, and include the new definition. And I think that's the only place. Try to keep some order. Okay, if you're ready, the next one on the first page, 2412, homebound instruction, that was revised because of a change in the pupil accounting manual. And those changes are primarily on the front page. And so it's a physician, psychiatrist, or hospital or licensed treatment facility must certify the student is homebound or home hospitalized. Again, coming from changes in the pupil accounting manual.
I dang near died when I opened up the agenda.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Couldn't we push it out a little bit?
Yeah. So on the second page of your board agenda, the next 2, 3, 4 all fall into condensing those non-discrimination policies. And then the next one would be 4162, controlled substance and alcohol policy for commercial motor vehicle drivers or other employees who perform safety-sensitive functions. And that is being revised to reflect statutory and regulatory changes to the return to duty process as required by the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and including evaluation by a qualified substance abuse professional, education or treatment, and follow-up evaluation. And you'll see that at the back of that policy. Yeah.
That goes with, yeah, that goes with 1422.
Yeah, I saw, I didn't get a chance to, it looks like 1422 is crossed out, and then it looks like it's 3122.
Yeah. We've got a 3362. It's all crossed out, though, so it must be a reset.
The 3362?
Harassment, so I'm assuming it would go with the 1422, the very first one, we could place it.
So 1422 is the replacement one.
Yeah, that-
And so, yes, it's replacing, 3122.
Yeah, it's that
Yeah,
same,
sorry.
same process of merging and rescinding.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah. And so 4162,
That's the one we just did.
the,
And then-
yeah, the motor.
Yep.
And then after that, 4162, so 4362, non-discrimination is rescinded. And then 5517, bullying, it's got some updated information there. So that one, 5517 was revised to include definitions and additional components included in the latest version of the Michigan State Board of Education's model anti-bullying policy.
Looks like they're adding language about electronically transmitted acts.
Yeah. Yep. And just sort of an opening statement, the Board of Education recognizes that it's physically, emotionally safe, secure for all students and staff, be able to better promote good citizenship. Board expects students and staff to conduct themselves in a manner that promotes positive relationships, the school climate, and with proper regard for the rights and welfare of other students, school staff, volunteers, and contractors. Then later on, just clarifying the training requirements. And some updates in the language. And then definitely adding computer wireless. But also bullying is conduct that meets all of the following criteria. And so it then lists out, you know, and updating too for the definition of harassment. It includes all of those following areas. And I think with that last paragraph, I just use this to make a public service announcement. Our scope is limited to our property, our network, our facilities. Many of the cyberbullying, complaints that we do field are taking place on social media, after hours, personal devices, at home, not at school not at school functions, using our network and things like that. And I've been in touch for several years with our local law enforcement who say that is exactly where they step in, and they encourage families that if you are experiencing cyberbullying that is taking place beyond the school's facilities and scope, call the police, call the sheriff, and let them know. It's sometimes difficult and sometimes easy to pin those sort of things down, but certainly they have access to far more resources than we do to track things down. But again, our authority extends only to our devices network during school time and those pieces. So the public service announcement is, if you are experiencing it and it is occurring outside of that, please contact law enforcement and let them know, because it's real and it's a serious issue. Oops, I lost my agenda. So much for order. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Okay. That's bullying. 7540. Revisions reflect the U.S. Department of Justice final rule provisions under Title II of the Americans with Disability Act, requiring state and local government entities, including public schools, to make web content and mobile application accessible to individuals with disabilities. $75.41, rescinding this policy, and that's the provisions of this policy have been included in policy 8300, which is later on this list. Continuity of organizational operations, and so like the other harassment policies, they're just going through and reducing redundancy or duplicity. And then the next policy is 8300, which then wraps in 7541 into that policy. And the final one is 8305. And it's been revised to, information security has been revised to include additional language and options regarding cybersecurity safeguards. And there were some crossing off of language in that one as well. So first reading on these, options have been marked. And I'm trying to remember, do we have conversation about bringing without the green and red for the board when they approve it? Does that make it easier to see them without the revision status on it, or?
I like to see what they change, I like their colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we won't print this back up again?
No.
Okay, all right.
Save it for, please.
Yeah.
Yes, and we can always see what it looks like when we go view it in the updated policies.
Yes.
Yep. So, yes. Very good.
All right, I think that's it.
Question.
Yeah.
The 4162, the motor vehicle policy, I didn't get through it all, or if it's even in this portion, but say we have somebody that does test positive, is that not grounds for immediate termination?
I always hesitate at blanket statements just because there could be some, mitigating circumstances, but I'm comfortable with saying yes, that in general, that if they are.
Okay,
And
There may be extenuating circumstances.
yeah.
I mean, there is some language in there, AJ, on the second page. 4 from the bottom, but no staff member who has tested positive for alcohol or controlled substance may be returned to a safety-sensitive position without having been evaluated by a qualified substance abuse professional.
Yeah.
Doesn't say much, but yeah.
Well, that one that means they have the potential, if they follow the proper training program, to be cleared. I didn't think we really wanted to go down that road.
And
Of taking the chance of this person has already,
Yeah.
and we're gonna give them another chance.
I was going to say, there's our experience, and I can tell you, since I've been here, absolutely, it has been a, thank you very much, we're parting ways. I just hesitate to say that, yes, going forward in every possible situation, there's one answer to it. So there's a process in place, and is that fair to say? Yeah.
I don't think you can even, if you have a controlled substance, can you even keep your CDL?
Yeah, you can keep your DOT license. If you have a letter from the prescribing physician, they are able to pass their DOT.
No, I'm not that, Monica. If you get a citation, I thought you lost your CDL. If you get more than 2 citations, maybe, of a controlled substance. I don't know. It doesn't matter,
Know
as
that
long
off
as
the top
there's,
of your head.
So when they get pulled over by the police and they test positive, that's possible we could lose their license that way. If they're picked up in the random drug testing, which our drivers have to, we rotate through with random drug testing through our driver staff, and if it's positive, or they refuse to test, then that's where the question comes in.
Mary, would you mind repeating that at the microphone? I think that's interesting and, sorry.
Did it work? Oh, it did work. Dang. So if they're on the road and they get pulled over by a police officer and they're issued a citation, then it goes through the regular channels with the courts and things like that. If they're picked up in a random drug testing, which all of our drivers, we rotate through all of our CDL drivers in random pulls, and they're sent to be drug tested. If they test positive then, or if they refuse to go, then there's other steps taken with HR and reviewing things. And recent memory, I know of one driver that was accused of driving and smelled of alcohol and different accusations like that, and we requested a test, and that person would not go, and that person resigned. So, does that kind of? That's fine. Oh, okay.
Any further questions or discussion on that? Well, chew on it, and if you have anything you'd like to add next week, that'd be the time. All right, that concludes policy, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Then that brings us to charitable gifts, which, Sarah, you can read at the next meeting. But if you're curious, there they are. And that brings us to public comment. And again, I think everybody knows the drill. Looks like a nice, healthy crowd, so come on up.
I'm Yvonne Johnson, a proud Alpena High graduate and a township resident. I had no plan to speak tonight, but here we are. As you know, I'm the sponsor of the recall of board members Lawson, Costain, and Dzinski. I initiated the recall to put the job performance of these board members on the November ballot. My goal is to allow voters to decide if we want you to continue to represent us. I agree with Dr. Rabideau that any personal attacks on board members is completely despicable, disgusting. It's absolutely unacceptable, and I'm sorry you've experienced that, Ms. Dzinski. It sounds frightening, honestly. In all my comments here, online, and in the community, I have focused on the board members' conduct in office. I've given praise and shown gratitude when I thought it was warranted. I've also taken action through the appropriate democratic channels when I thought that that was warranted. I'll continue to do so. As a private individual, I've also been targeted and bullied online. There have been outright lies based on my participation here as a community member. Other community members have too. I echo Dr. Rabideau's call to turn down the temperature and would point out that it requires civility and restraint from both sides. For example, it was just 3 weeks ago when members Hansen, Dzinski, and Lawson cracked jokes and made snide remarks about the recall in this room at the February 16th workshop. 2 weeks ago, I was the target of Board President Lawson's comments at the February 23rd regular meeting at the high school. He didn't name me, but he specifically referred to comments that I made at the October 20th meeting. In those comments, I encouraged the board to act to improve student achievement and outcomes, rather than simply saying the words. Dr. Lawson used his position on the board to misrepresent my comments and the board's actions in that meeting, suggesting that listening to Dr. Rabideau's presentation about the strategic plan was actually taking action. So again, I'll encourage you to act, not simply say the words. I'll do my part. I've stuck to the facts. I have been civil and respectful here. Will you do yours?
Thank you.
My name is Dennis Schultz. I live at 700 State, and I'm here to thank you. I haven't been here in a few years, and when I was here a few years ago, I think maybe I complained a lot. I apologize for that, but I want to thank you first, Sarah and Anna and Eric, AJ, Sarah, Monica, Eric. What I listened to tonight till now is a lot of work. I've been on boards. I was on the hospital board for many years. The board meeting is just the tip of the iceberg. If you do your homework, you got another 3 times as much preparing for this nonsense. When you say nonsense, it all seems good, but we've gotten so complex. And I'm going to caution you. I'm in business. I have an aeronautical engineering degree, and I went to a one-room school in this community. My teacher had 3 months of county normal. You're familiar with Omni Metalcraft. Ron and I were in class together for 7 years. We had a little library in a corner where the teacher made us go when we misbehave and read. It doesn't have to be this complicated. I'm not suggesting you go to one-room schoolhouses, but you need to really simplify this. The future is going to take it away from you, from us, if we don't. This is way too complex. Too much, I'm going to call it nonsense. I work with your graduates. 50 families work in our businesses. And it's a struggle for many of them, and I appreciate for you too. Your students aren't the norm anymore. The families aren't the same, and I respect that. But mostly, I want to thank you for doing the hard work. This is tough, and I think over the next decade, half a decade, we have to make some big changes. We can't be having $60 million repairs to buildings when we're overlooking the kids. I had 7 grandkids, and they went through the system. They're all doing fine. I would say most of them were bored, but they made through it. They did it. They're in college, some aren't. But there's so much here, and there was all this measurement of kids and how they're doing, and it really doesn't matter. If you're doing the basics, let the kids that fly, and just get the basics down, really what your work is. And it's not easy, and I thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Chris Sanders, and I live in Lachine. And Dr. Lawson, I stand here tonight as a member of this community who cares deeply about the health of our public institutions. the tone of our civic life, as you do, as you've stated, and the kind of example that we set for the young people watching all of this unfold. And what concerns me about the recall effort being put upon the members of, some of the members of this board and on the people of this community is not just the politics of it, it's this precedent it sets. The petitions themselves list some votes that some people disagreed with. They're not illegal actions. They're not violations of policies, not corruption. They're votes, with the exception of an attendance grievance. Votes about a rain garden project, votes about legal counsel choices, votes about a paving contract. Reasonable people can disagree about decisions. I mean, that's the entire point of an elected board. Board members are chosen precisely so they can weigh information, exercise judgment, and make decisions on behalf of the community. If every vote that someone disagreed with becomes grounds for a recall, then what we're really saying is that representatives are not allowed to represent. They're only allowed to comply. This is not accountability, that's intimidation. Dr. Lawson, the recall process is an important safeguard in a democracy. I agree with it. But safeguards work best when they're reserved for serious situations such as illegal conduct, corruption, and major ethical violations. When recalls are used simply because someone disagrees with a policy vote, the process begins to lose its integrity and becomes a tool for political pressure rather than public accountability. What many people in this community have witnessed over this past year is very troubling to me. Board members who are trying to serve their community have been repeatedly targeted, their motives questioned, publicly ripped to shreds, their words repeatedly twisted, and their professional reputations dragged through the mud over governance decisions. And the twisting of the words needs to go away no matter which side is doing it. If we want good people to step forward and serve in public roles, then our community must commit to something better. Civility, fair treatment, and the understanding that every board member deserves to be evaluated on the full record of their service, not reduced to a handful of votes that some people disliked.
Thank you.
My name is Tammy Hinkle, live in Alpena County. I just come because I wanted to thank each one of you board members for what you have given to this community and how you've made a difference. I know that each one of you have sacrificed something to be a member of this board, some more than others. Thank you, Monica, for not giving up or quitting. We can't quit if we get bullied. Be strong, be courageous. I thank you for supporting the people who voted for you well. One example is by seeking out different opinions regarding issues of school policy, not just settling for the counsel that we have always taken in the past. This allowed more people's viewpoints to be represented in the decision-making process, as it has been often stated that the board has the responsibility to represent all of the students and families in the school district. I've attended many school board meetings, and I enjoy listening to the plans that you have for our school and in the future to improve academics and to connect with the people and get their input. I appreciate that. Opposition comes not from those that want equality, but from those that want you to see everything from their viewing point. You were elected, to be school board members for who you are and for what you can bring to our community. Please continue to make your decisions accordingly. Follow your heart, your faith, and your common sense. Remember why you were why you chose to run for this position in the first place, and the people that support you. Keep up the good work. Don't get discouraged. There are many people that believe in you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, looks like we're done. Thank you all very much for your comments. Let us proceed then. We have information and questions from board members. Okay. No board discussion topics at this time then, huh? Okay. Then that brings us to our advanced planning. You can see we have a meeting next week here, the 23rd, our annual board workshop, the 24th, very exciting, at the Wildcat Den, our community forum, and I do believe King Scott will be there.
Yep.
To present and take questions. And then we have some activities in April as well, so we hope you'll join us for all of those. And with that,
Before
yes,
we,
please.
just so everyone knows, this evening's, we will have 2 closed sessions following this one. After the first closed session, there will be no action taken. After the second closed session, there might be action taken. So, and we will be, fortunately, it's nice outside. We will be having people wait outside during these sessions.
Very good. Okay. Well, then with that, I will adjourn this meeting and we will get our other one started. So thank you very much.
Yep. Yeah, we got 9 minutes till the posted start time.
That door up.
I can lock it all the way out if you want.
Just look out the window. Is there anybody like hanging around there? They have a right to be here.
There's people talking.
Yeah, you have a few people talking. Do you want me to ask if they want? If they want to come in for the pledge.
Want to be here for the pledge or,
Your light's on.
Alrighty, then we will bring this second meeting of the APS Board of Education to order, and let's rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I move we go to a,
No. It's law. I'll make a motion to approve the March 9th, 2026 agenda as presented.
Very good.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and support to approve the agenda. Any further discussion? Seeing no discussion on the item, raise your hand in favor. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. We have an approved agenda. Then next we would be looking for a motion to move to closed session.
I'll make a motion to move to closed session for exempt material MCL 15.268 H.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to move into closed session and support. Any discussion of this motion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, so we are now in closed session.
Do we check the feed?
Nobody.
Are we back online? Okay, we are back in open session to correct an oversight. I apologize, I did not catch this going in. For this exempt material, MCL 15.268H, we do need a roll call. I think an oversight in our agenda and led us to go into open or closed session without that roll call. So we're going to do so now. And so I would entertain a motion to go into closed session again.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by AJ, second by Monica. Any further discussion? Again, my apologies, I did not catch this going in, but once I discovered it, I decided we better act on it. So we have a motion to go into closed session and a second. Let us do a roll call.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Costain?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Dzinski?
Aye.
Member MacArthur?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. All right, roll call is unanimous. We will go back into closed session now. Thank you.
That's all right.
Okay, Summer, are we live? Okay, so we are back in open session from our last. This next closed session, this is exempt from a roll call vote. So I would at this point entertain a motion to move into closed session for non-renewal MCL 15.268A.
I'll make that. Eric Hansen offered that motion, and I will support his motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, a show of hands in favor of the motion. Okay. Any opposed? All right, that passes unanimously. We are now back in closed session and offline. Okay, our recess is complete. We would need a motion to go back into closed session to continue our work.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support to go back into closed session. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we are back in closed session.
5 minutes.
Okay. All my trash.
All right, we are coming out of closed session, back into open session, and I believe we'll have a motion to consider.
Sure. I will make a motion for the non-renewal, referring to the teacher from the closed sessions contract for the 26-27 school year, for the remainder of the 26-27 school year, and place on paid administrative leave for the remainder of the 25-26 school year. I screwed that up. Can I
Go ahead, please.
modify? I'll make a motion for the non-renewal regarding the teacher from the closed sessions contract for the 26-27 school year and place on paid administrative leave for the remainder of the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call.
Member MacArthur?
Nay.
Member Fritz?
Aye.
Member Meinhardt?
Aye.
Member Dzinski?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Costain?
Aye.
Member Lawson?
Aye. Motion carries. All right, so it is, there is now an opportunity for public comment. Well, we are in open session. We have public comment on the agenda. Is there any public comment? No. Nobody's going to crawl out of the woodwork? All right, seeing no public comment, I will refer you to our advanced planning, which I went over before, and with that, I will adjourn our meeting. Thank you all very much.